Cameras off. Cameras off. Camera girl.
Cameras off. Get out.
Cameras off. Camera girl.
Cameras off.
Cameras off. Cameras off.
Yeah.
That was a video clip of the Las Vegas police officers being ordered to turn off their body cameras before engaging with the Mandalay Bay shooting in October of this past year. Investigative reporter Laura Loomer broke this story for Big League Politics. A lot of people are talking about it. Laura joins us today. Laura, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Laura, what is going on? Why were these police officers told to turn off their body cameras, which is totally against their own protocol, before engaging with the biggest crime that's been committed in Las Vegas or in this country, really, I would say, since 9/11?
Well, as you can see from the videos, there were multiple officers in the form of strike teams that had to respond to the Mandalay Bay and the Route 91 Country Music Festival the night of the shooting. And they were taking a lot of different orders, positioned in different locations. And you can hear within several of those video clips, orders being given to the officers to have their cameras off. So a woman's voice comes on and it says, cameras off, cameras off. And it's really unclear as to why, a police department that uses body cameras, a practice that's becoming more and more common in police departments across the country, for the sake of transparency and having an active record of the events that unfold, why they would want to prevent the recording of what is now the worst mass shooting in U.S. history to be recorded. And so, I think that what we really see here is a breach of ethics and a violation on behalf of the LVMP to uphold values that they themselves have agreed to follow within their own I care values.
Well, it definitely suggests that there's more to this story than we were told. I want to talk about Stephen Paddock. He was blamed for this, and they told us that he was the only one who carried this out. You recently reported that there were some other people in the room. That wasn't part of the official story starting out. Did Stephen Paddock do this? Was he a patsy? Was he involved with other people? Tell me about him.
Right, so Stephen Paddock, the alleged Las Vegas shooter, is who, he's become the face of the Las Vegas shooting. He is who police officers, Sheriff Lombardo, and the FBI Las Vegas have labeled as the shooter. But when you look at the facts and you look at a lot of the evidence and information coming out, it's now evident that we don't really have any evidence that Stephen Paddock himself used the gun to kill 58 people and shoot, at thousands of other individuals there at the concert on October 1. But what we do know now, based on newly released dispatch documents, is that there were 3 women who were found in Stephen Paddock's room that were registered to the room. Then again, when we go back to the initial press conference from the Las Vegas shooting, you can see that Sheriff Lombardo and the FBI deliberately lied to the American public when they said that Stephen Paddock was alone in his room. So once again, it's just this another inconsistency, another lie on behalf of investigators in this case that suggests that we're not getting the story here.
And there was also a woman, according to witnesses, who was screaming before the shooting at the people at the country music concert, saying, "You're all going to die tonight." I mean, tell me a little bit about this Brian Hodge character. Who's Brian Hodge? How did he know Stephen Paddock?
Well, so Brian Hodge is an Australian, and he lives in California. And Brian Hodge was there at Mandalay Bay the day of the shooting. And Brian Hodge ended up becoming, kind of like a witness that the media started speaking to immediately following the shooting, because he claims that that he was staying in the room next to Stephen Paddock. That's what he told reporters. He told reporters that he was checked in the room next to Paddock, and that when he went up on the 32nd floor, he heard gunshot, and that's when he went down the elevator and just like met up with his friends and was running for his life. Well, it turns out that Brian Hodge wasn't staying in the room next to Stephen Paddock. I was able to exclusively obtain Brian Hodge's hotel invoice from the Mandalay Bay, sources there, and it shows that he was staying on the other side of the 32nd floor. And so that's lie number one. Then, as was speaking to members of law enforcement and members of the media directly following the attack, many of whom were in Australia, since he is Australian, he told them, yeah, Stephen Paddock used a special hammer to break the glass. He used a special hammer, and this information hadn't been released to the public at that time. The only people who knew that Stephen Paddock had used a hammer to break the glass, a hammer that was found within the room, a hammer that is mentioned in one of these FIT reports, is long, right? So Brian Hodge has details of the investigation that he shouldn't have prior to them being released by LVMP and the FBI. And the only way he would have been able to know that is if he was himself in the room, all right? And, he just continued to also lie about where he was. Individuals who I've been speaking with in law enforcement, in intelligence agencies, have been investigating Brian Hodge for many months now. And he immediately deleted a lot of his Facebook posts from the night of the shooting. He made his social media private because the things that he was posting on his social media were contrary to what he was saying in a lot of these interviews. And so he started to catch on, but unfortunately, I don't feel that the FBI or LVMP properly investigated Brian Hodge and his, his background, what he does, his political alliances, because while he was claiming to be hiding in the bushes outside of Mandalay Bay, he wasn't, right? He actually drove outside of town, staying at a hotel in which 3 other individuals with license plates from Mexico, which, trace back to a town in Mexico where there is an ISIS connection. He went there first.
Yeah. Now
and his cell phone was.
Now, Laura, you recently found out that there was a call made to 911 by one of the security guards at Mandalay Bay stating that there were multiple shooters. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so on the night of the shooting, there was a 911 call that was placed from a Mandalay Bay security officer to LVMPD. And you can hear this communication taking place between the security officer at Mandalay Bay and dispatch, in which he says that they've confirmed that there was another shooter on another floor, on the casino floor, and also the Crystal Club floor. And so what's very interesting about this is how there was no mentioning of this in the report or in the information that they provided us, that Metro and the FBI provided us with the days following the shooting. But if you listen to the language, they said that they've confirmed another active shooter. So, we're not getting the full story here. I don't know how Stephen Paddock could be on the 32nd floor, or if it even really was Stephen Paddock or whoever else may have been inside the room. And they knew that somebody was shooting there, but then they also had another report of somebody shooting on another level. This is information that the people deserve to know. And every single time they release these new dispatch logs, statements, videos, whatever it may be, you constantly find these inconsistencies and these lies that don't match up with the official narrative that law enforcement has put forward.
It's an outrage, and it's not just happening in Las Vegas. If you look at what happened in Parkland with Sheriff Scott Israel, I mean, listening to those tapes of the cops doing everything they possibly could to not go into the school and stop that shooting and allowing it to happen. I mean, are we getting to a point now, Laura, where we have to fear our law enforcement in this country if we're law-abiding citizens?
Well, I think there's a lot of distrust, right? And look, there's a lot of really great police officers, and I'm sure there's really good FBI agents as well. But when you look at the recent IG report that came out, and you look at some of the text messages and some of the things that some of these FBI agents are saying about the American people, specifically Trump supporters, calling us pieces of shit, like so on and so on. I mean, it really just makes you wonder if they're working against us. And, I can understand why there's such a high level of distrust. There should be. I feel that, the FBI and a lot of these police departments, especially LVMPD and Broward County Sheriff's Office, they have a credibility issue, right? Because they're in cahoots with the FBI in information that they know or that they're choosing to withhold from the American public. And eventually people find out. And when people find out on their own without the FBI or these police departments releasing it themselves, then people say, well, why didn't you? You know,
Yep.
how come you're hiding?
Yep. And on this topic, we just have breaking news in right now. The White House is on lockdown after a man has jumped the security barrier and left a backpack on the grounds. So this looks like potentially a terrorist attack. Hopefully, we pray that everyone in the White House is safe as that situation gets sorted out. I mean, this just goes to show that there is a media insanity right now. I mean, these people are whipping the left up into a frenzy to go at Trump supporters. Obviously, the 58 people who died in Las Vegas were, conservative-leaning people, you would assume, because it was a country music festival. So, I mean, so this was really an attack on us, on our people, on our values. I mean, where is this all going? Where is the Democrats, the party of Harvey Weinstein and Hillary Clinton and these crooks? What are they trying to do?
Well, like I've been saying for months now, I truly believe that the FBI has essentially just become a propaganda arm for the Democratic Party. And that's why I feel like it's so hard for people to have trust within these agencies, because you see a lot of this turmoil, you see a lot of the division, you see the insanity and the Trump derangement syndrome that's being fueled by the left-wing media and the Democratic Party. But then you also see it now, especially with the IG report, you see that this is also the mentality of a lot of what are supposed to be most respected members of law enforcement in this country, the people who are supposed to protect us. And I don't feel safe as a Trump supporter or just as an American when there are members of the FBI texting each other saying, well, whatever we got to do, we got to stop Trump. What does that mean, to stop him? You know, like, you give that information to somebody who's a little bit mentally unstable, it kind of sounds like an assassination attempt or an assassination threat to me, right? So I think that it looks very dirty. I think it's actually creating a very unsafe political situation. And, I wouldn't be surprised if this is why we're not getting answers about the Las Vegas shooting, just given the fact that, the FBI Las Vegas, Aaron Rouse, the special agent in charge, has his own ties to Comey and his own ties to these very troubled individuals within the FBI. I mean, it's no surprise that the FBI in Vegas is full of Comey-eyed Democrats, right? Never Trumpers, and you're not going to get answers about an investigation in which most of the people who were injured and killed were Trump supporters when you have an FBI that's against conservatives.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, and you have certainly put yourself in harm's way by exposing powerful people, and some of these powerful people are violent, and some of these powerful people are dangerous, and they know how to rig the system. I want to ask, because you're still a young person, how old are you, Laura?
I just turned 25.
25 years old. What inspired you to do this kind of work and to, you don't need this hassle. I'm sure you could have gone and done something else. I mean, why did you put yourself in the line of fire doing this kind of investigative reporting?
Well, I put myself inside the fire because, as Andrew Breitbart used to say, you have to walk towards the fire, right? And that is exactly what I'm doing. I am walking towards the fire. And I think that it's important for individuals like myself and others, such as you, to carry on that legacy of citizen journalism that individuals like Breitbart himself really encourage people to follow. And I viewed myself originally as a citizen journalist, but now I have established myself as a well-respected investigative conservative journalist in this country. And whether it be my work with Project Veritas or my own independent investigations, I think that it's important to do this work without being a slave of the corporate mainstream media, without an agenda, without gatekeepers. I think that the unfiltered truth is necessary in order to really have a healthy, functioning democracy. I mean, if you look at the media right now, the media, as it is sometimes referred to as the fourth estate, was created as a means of checks and balances to keep our politicians and elected officials and people of power in check, right? To monitor their behavior, to make sure that they could that they couldn't get away with hurting the people. Right? The media was supposed to be a watchdog for the people, but they are no longer a watchdog for the people.
Unbelievable work by Laura Loomer, who we are proud to call a Big League Politics contributor. Please keep following her on Twitter because she is doing what the mainstream corporate media refuses to do, and she deserves a whole lot of support and recognition for doing this kind of work in her mid-20s, and she has a whole lot of potential. So, Laura Loomer, thank you for joining us.